And our apologies for that. Welcome to Trending News right here on Lookup TV. The time is 4:12 p.m. and of course we have been covering live footage that is from the Parliament, the 13th Joint Parliament, of course at the Parliament building right here in Nairobi. And President William Ruto has been addressing the joint assemblies, that is the National Assembly and the Senate. And of course he's spoken about a various number of issues, and just talking about how he will run his administration in an open and transparent manner and rely on oversight from the House to make sure that the public gets value for every cent invested in every policy, project and program. The President has also spoken about just committing as the Parliament, and of course him being the head of the executive, that to make sure that all constituencies and all counties in every region throughout Kenya are well served, and the people and sovereign interest are operating on principle and purpose. Of course, talking big about the integrity of his government and what he is planning to do. He has also congratulated the Speaker of the National Assembly, who is Moses Wetangula. Moses Wetangula was under the Kenya Kwanza umbrella, and as well congratulated Amason Kingi, who is the Speaker of the Senate, both of who were under the Kenya Kwanza umbrella. And the President, William Ruto, also spoke about the women representation in the election of 2022. And of course, just saying that the women have been largely included. And he also spoke about the women. The 29 women were elected members of the National Assembly. And these are new women elected in the National Assembly, and it's a manifestation of growing confidence in the contribution of women leadership. Remember, President William Ruto had largely spoken in his campaigns about how his administration will include women in its leadership. And he says that the election of women just in itself is already a sign that the government and Kenyans at large have confidence in the contribution of women in the leadership and decision-making in governance and political sectors as well. And he also mentioned that Parliament has recorded the highest number of re-elected members of Parliament ever. And he said this confirms the increased confidence in Kenyans in their leaders, meaning that if the leaders were re-elected, then people in their constituencies and their different counties have faith in them to continue being in office. And of course, the President says it is his pleasure to officially address the joint parliamentary meeting, that is of course including the National Assembly and the Senate. The President also spoke largely about how his government is going to work the disbursement of funds and just making sure that there is inclusion in government. So in terms of the leadership in the different counties, despite of even the leaders who are not under the Kenya Kwanza umbrella, just extending an arm even to members of the opposition who are in Parliament, that is the National Assembly, as well as the Senate. And of course, he reiterated that his government is committed to serving all Kenyans, and of course, regardless of their background, economic status, as he continued to champion the bottom-up approach that his government is going to be taking. And of course, he talked about how the projects are going to be run, and the cabinet. Of course, he gave us the address, that is 2 days ago, and gave us a listing of all the cabinet nominees. And of that, 7 out of those cabinet ministers that were nominated are women. And he also said he is a firm believer of democracy as the rule of law, that his government is going to be fair in all its execution of matters. And he said that that is why his first executive action that he took when he assumed office was to undo a legacy of acts and omissions that had incriminately undermined the independence of the judiciary. Remember, just a day after assuming office, President William Ruto, he led the judiciary, of course, to swear in the 6 judges that had been set off, or rather had been assumed under the leadership of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And he said that in doing so, then this will mean that democracy will be the rule of the law, as it was his first executive action. And of course, he said there were deliberate efforts to restore sanity and introduce greater management in the use of the public resources. And of course, one significant intervention into the resolving the abandoned consumption of subsidies in favor of supporting investing in production. Remember, the president removed subsidies on fuel, and in turn, this affects the pricing of other commodities. But he said that this is in favor of supporting and investing in production. That is the joint parliamentary sitting that was addressed by the President William Ruto this afternoon, the National Assembly and the Senate. And this is a story that we're going to be giving you in details in our subsequent bulletins at 6:30 p.m. and at 8 p.m. For now, do keep it Lookup TV for other updates and our programming. I am Nelima. Thank you so much for watching. Have a pleasant afternoon.